Sadaji, in India, MSME has been benchmarked on German and Chinese way of small businesses working. Why India has failed thus far, even though government has increased the threshold for MSME and a lot of government chatter is on bringing the interest rate down, but still the interest rate is at 8% or maybe more. That's for individual, and for companies it may be a little bit more.
Well, interest rates, if you see across the world, well, we take America as the biggest economy in the world. It's supposed to be the boss of the world as far as finance is concerned. Even there, I was talking to a friend in New York yesterday, and there was a small company, borrowed. You'll be surprised, he got it at 6%. So I think COVID followed by Ukraine-Russia crisis has caused a turmoil in the interest rate. And the good thing is inflation in India is under control. It is now between 4 and 5%, within the RBI's target. And if inflation continues to remain in control, we will see after a couple of quarters interest rates in India coming down. So I think the peak of the interest rate is already over, and you will see interest rates coming down. Although this is true that if we have to compete with China and Germany or some of the other countries whom we are trying to beat, even Japan for that matter, interest rates should be within reach of these small businesses. But I think we went through an extraordinary situation. We went through an extraordinary period of Russia-Ukraine preceded by COVID. I think so the situation demanded that way, and the central banks around the world had to hike the interest rates to control inflation. But in the times to come, we will see friendlier interest rates. But we should not forget that high interest rates also have many beneficiaries, because the senior citizens, the Aam Janta who got their money lying in the bank, they are laughing away because at least they've got some relief by way of their fixed income. There's a large population in this country which comprises of senior citizens who depend on schemes like senior citizen scheme, fixed deposits, monthly income plan, monthly income scheme, and so on and so forth. So I think what is bad for business is turning out to be good for certain sector of people. And I think this is a temporary phase, and the interest rates will start receding in the coming.
My question was only because of what we see from on the behind of you is MSME Expo, and I'm more concerned about MSME. If the circulation of money is more, that means that the businesses grow, and that means that the people at large will find it a lot more interesting and lot more lucrative enough, and that was the reason. And also you'll agree with me, Mr. Kohli, that because of the good business cycle of India, we are growing at 6+ rates, which mean, and the world, the countries that you mentioned, and including the Western world, they are growing. They are very lagging behind. So that means that India must have done something right. But then, if MSME has to grow, the interest rate has to come sub 5% or around there about. And do you see the maths happening with the government? And do you see the large heart of the government only talking, or is there anything sensible that they can do?
Well, I feel that interest is a monetary tool. It's not a fiscal tool. Reserve Bank of India primarily is the agency which controls the interest rates in India, whether it is the reverse repo or the repo. So I think, and these tools are used as per the situation in the country. And as I said, globally speaking, the situation demanded high interest rates because inflation was going out of control. With the inflation coming in control, I think Reserve Bank is regularly monitoring. In fact, we are expecting one of the RBI monetary policies on Thursday. And I am personally expecting a pause, that there's no more hikes will happen. Although the inflation, because of the vegetable prices and food prices climbing, has slightly gone up over the last couple of months, whereas it was well within the reach of 4.5%. I'm talking of the CPI. So I think it's all a game of inflation. If inflation goes up, the central banks around the world, including India, have to hike the interest rates. If the inflation comes under control, I'm sure, as I said, with the current status being maintained, nothing untoward happens, no adverse situation comes, geopolitically or otherwise, I see that in the first quarter of 2024, the calendar year 2024, the interest rates will start cooling down, which is when the MSMEs can probably take a sigh of relief. As of now, you're right, MSMEs are paying through their nose. The loan servicing is becoming difficult. In fact, some of the NPAs primarily are because of the high interest rates. Their cash flows are impacted, their bottom lines are impacted. So I'm very positive that probably in the coming year, interest rates will start coming down.
One last question and a very specific question with the election round the corner, and because everybody is in election mode and the government certainly is in election mode, do you think MSME will benefit in the long run? Because if the interest rate come down, again I'm getting back to the same question, if the interest rate come down, the number of MSME, one, volume will increase, and second, their purchasing power and their businesses will grow, and certainly India will grow. And I think this is what the governments around the world and government of India keeps talking about, bringing jobs, and keeps talking about self-help group, or keeps talking about entrepreneur. They want to bring entrepreneurs and bring them job, but they are not able to either benefit themselves or the people they employ.
Undoubtedly, I think cheap money, easy money, and at a very reasonable price, interest rate is a boon for the MSMEs. And with the interest rates coming down, I think that you will see more and more MSMEs coming forward, because finance is one of the top items in the list of when somebody decides to set up a business. I think you cannot run the business without finance, and if bankers come forward, that too at a very reasonable rate, I think MSMEs can be set up quickly. They can grow quickly. They can move from micro to medium to small category sooner than they can imagine. So I think for any MSME, it's a dream that I get easy money, I get cheaper money. So I think that dream will come true, but despite the interest rates being higher, I'm not trying to be biased towards the government, but I have found that the natural growth in this country, you spoke about 6% plus growth, I think the natural growth in this country is propelling the work of MSMEs. So I know a lot of MSMEs, despite high interest outflows, they are able to hang on there, they are able to generate profits. Many of them are able to grow as well, although there are a lot of them which are being hit hard because of the interest rates. But I think for any MSME sector, as I said, friendly interest rate is a dream come true.
Do you think the bank's basic banking, lending and profit making is the days are numbers for them, all the banks, or they have to diversify because they need to tap the industry, they need to tap the entrepreneur, and they certainly need to tap MSME to grow their business? Gone are the days about lending money and making profit and then loaning the money.
I think banks are on the other side of the table. So what comes cheap to the MSMEs becomes profit for bankers. And we saw, in fact, I can make a revelation here, that most of the banks' profits that you see, improved profits, because I'm connected to the stock markets also, and we monitor quarterly results coming down. You must be knowing that a lot of banks have shown improved results. One of the main reasons for improved results is because the interest inflow or the interest revenue has grown phenomenally. And but I don't think banks can endlessly keep depending on this high revenue, because it is going to hit the other side of the table. So there has to be a balance. No doubt that bank is about lending, and one of the main revenue sources for bankers in India is interest. I mean, that Sahukar philosophy still goes years after it was started.
200 years.
Yeah. So therefore, I really don't think that bankers have found themselves an alternate revenue resource till now. I mean, with the CBDC coming, the central bank digital currency, you will see in the next 4 to 5 years, people will not keep their money in the banks. I mean, other than earning interest.